When you think of the words black empowerment, what are some things that come to your mind living as a black person anywhere on the planet that our people are found? Take a bit of time and truly reflect on and meditate what those two words mean. Take some time to think about what, as a black person, you must cultivate in order to be living black empowerment and inspire others around you to have it. I like to quote the great Dr. John Henry Clark. He said, "Of our people, anywhere on the planet that we are, we have no friends." Probably one of the greatest examples of our dear elder's words speaking true today is in the United States of America. We see that there are really two Americas. There's one for black society, then there's one for the dominant society. When you look at even the FBI crime and data statistics, it shows that they commit more crime than we do in several areas. However, for the exact same crimes, we are locked up at 2 and sometimes 3 times the rate that they are. If anyone who's an adult has been paying attention to what's been going on in this country outside of mainstream media, but also in real black media, we see that some in the dominant society can commit murder, and there has to be an investigation. There has to be a decision about whether they're going to charge them or not. However, for far less, you see black people, it's almost instantaneous. In fact, before a trial is ever had underway or what have you, we're already convicted. You see, black is our uniform. You can't take that off. When you wake up and you walk outside your house, that is the uniform that identifies you. Now, we have some individuals in black society that think if they reach a certain social status, if they have an amount of wealth, they move to certain communities, they think they can escape their blackness. We've got all types of issues in our communities, from colorism, sometimes gender warring. Then you have people divided on religion, some sexuality. At the end of the day, here's the question, and one word should follow the question. How does any of that, worrying about it, arguing about it, debating about it, help us dismantle and replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice? The word that follows that question is focus. You see, oftentimes in black society, our people have been through so much. You have segments of us that choose to deal with or mitigate that pain and the trauma of it by entertainment, partying, drinking, getting high, etc., etc. Then you have those who are absolute cowards. They look our problems right in the eye, and instead of trying to hold the line and build on what our elders and ancestors have fought for to get us to this point, they hide and cower and will actually do any and everything except try to even think of a solution, let alone taking action. In fact, those individuals are quite dangerous because they will sell the rest of us out for light next to nothing at all. You can call them coons, traitors, whatever. There's one thing that's going to be absolutely certain about attaining black liberation anywhere on the planet that we're oppressed. Those individuals are going to have to be ostracized from our ranks. They're going to have to be. There can be no progress if you have the enemies behind your lines. I like to quote the great Zora Neale Hurston when she said, "All our skin folk are not our kinfolk." Here's the thing. When you meet another black person and you start talking about how you can solve issues that we face as black people, it's one thing to have a difference of opinion. That's very healthy. A multitude of differences of opinion, when put together and analyzed, even if not right at that time, will yield solutions. But when you have someone that's always talking about what we can't do, what we shouldn't have, what we don't deserve, what we won't get, you have to look at that person and either ask them directly or within yourself, whose side are you on? Let's get a bit extreme with this. If right now in the United States of America, or even anywhere on the planet, they brought back the institution of slavery, I mean physically, literally, came out on the media and said, "You know what? We're tired of playing with you niggas. You going back in these chains. And the only way that you're not going to go back in these chains, you gonna have to fight us to stay liberated." Now let that sink in for a minute. And this extreme hypothetical situation that I'm giving, which is not so extreme when you look at how we're being treated, especially here in the United States today. But given that situation, think about the black person to the left of you, to the right of you, in front of you, behind you. That situation right there will really have to take you to force into account, can I trust these individuals next to me? Are these brothers and sisters to the left, right of me, in front of me, and behind me, will they actually fight to have our back? Or because they're too cowardly and because they're too used to eating crumbs off their master's table, will they go inside with the dominant society? You see, during my time here in Spaces on Black YouTube, I've actually heard an individual, this was a black immigrant, make the statement that if it came to a scenario like that, he would side with the dominant society against us. Now you have to stop and think about something. An individual like that, he looks like us, he or she. But if they have that mindset, they don't see themselves as one of us. Now, when you logically look at an adversary or an opposing force, you have to have its equivalent or greater to stand a chance against it. So when it comes to global white supremacy, the answer to it is global black empowerment. Now, there's many political issues going on here today in the United States. We got the ADOS movement, which is really just a classification. Let's clear this up right now for any of our Caribbean, African, British, UK brothers and sisters, wherever you're from, Canada, wherever you're from. If you're black and you're not from the United States of America, if you weren't born here. ADOS is not some gang or it's not some hateful movement. All it is a classification of us, foundational black Americans, those of us whose great grandparents, so on and so forth, were born here. We are the descendants of slaves. Okay? That's all that is. And our grievance is with the United States government because they owe us a debt for all the blood equity and all the lives and towns burned during Reconstruction, Jim Crow, every bit of pain and suffering our people have endured. They owe it. They paid Japanese people, they paid Jewish people, they paid Native Americans reparations. Every other group here has gotten recompense for things that in some cases didn't even happen on American soil. And while we're at it, let's address the individuals that claim if we were to get some type of reparations, we wouldn't know what to do with the money. Let's make this cut and dry. If someone owes you money, okay, and it come time for you to get your money back, they've had it for quite some time. You finally see this person and ask them for the money, and they look you in your eye and tell you, well, you know what? I've changed my mind about paying you what I owe you because I don't think you're going to spend it right. Now, just imagine how you would feel if an individual told you that, let alone what you'd probably do. What business is it how you spend the money that someone owes you? See, these individuals are enemies of Black progress. These individuals are the enemies of Black empowerment. They must be called out every chance we get and ostracized from our ranks. You see, when you look back at history and you look at all the great achievements that our people have made, and you look at where we are in Black society today, I want everybody listening to this to think about something. In order to learn how to win, you must study your failures. You have to think about it as if you're watching game footage. A basketball game, football game, whatever the case may be. You have to look at the losses that you took in order to understand how to win in the future. We've got history to look back at to see what mistakes were made, and we have to pick up the ball, run with it, and hold the line. Black society is under attack like it has never been before today. They're trying to tell Black men that we're toxic if we stand up and be men and want to lead in our communities and lead amongst our families, to be economically independent and start businesses. These things mean Black empowerment. You see, the dominant society and these other groups, they don't want to see us do for self in any kind of way, because if you get independent of them, then you no longer need them for anything. That is the entire end game behind systematic white supremacy. Keep those of us who are at the socioeconomic bottom dependent on them. And that being said, also, for the individuals we call coons, those are the cowards that would rather throw their lot in with white mommy and white daddy, hoping that they can get crumbs off their table and they'll find favor. See, here's the thing about a coon. You can kind of compare them to a snitch in the mob. There are open white supremacists like Richard Spencer, Jared Taylor, and the like, which will tell you if they come amongst them, sure, they'll use them, but they won't trust them. And then, lo and behold, we've seen countless time after time, like the great Neely Fuller Jr. said, white supremacy is done with its tools, it breaks them. I don't even have to name the litany and the list of names over the years that we've seen this happen to. How is it that Black people have not learned that there is no safe space for a coon? There is no honor for a coon. Think back in history. When you look at most coons and traitors to our people, history doesn't really remember their names. You have to really dig and search for the names of the coons. History remembers those of us who were courageous enough to stand up and face oppression and systematic white supremacy. That's the thing. That's the thing. History remembers those of us that have honor attached to us, that stand up for something greater than ourselves. You have to watch an individual that's always talking about what they want for themselves. At no point in time around you, you ever stop to think to do something for the collective of black society. You really have to question the motives of that individual. You see, it shouldn't be a shock that when we see entertainers and movie stars and people who are affluent that get up into the millionaire club, so to speak, that they don't speak out for black people or do anything for us because they no longer see themselves as us. It's all about getting that check stroked by corporate white America, the very system or part of the system that oppresses us. This is why international black first group economics is going to be the answer in the future. We've got brothers and sisters over here talking about how they don't want to partner with our brothers and sisters in Africa to do different things. And this is the challenge that I pose to any individual over here in America thinking that way. And on the other end, to any of our African brothers and sisters that think that way. Ask yourself this. If you have ever even thought about being in a powerful position, having any type of power at all, think about the other groups on the planet. Think about how they always work together even when they have differences amongst one another. They understand that even though they might have differences even in between them, when it comes to going up against and competing against other groups, they know that for the good of their collective, they have to function in a way that brings them empowerment. Now you think and ask yourself, what better ally are you going to have than your black brothers and sisters who are from other places in the world? We don't stand a chance trying to fight by ourselves. We are stronger together. And I get it. You can't build with everyone. But it's time for us to start trying to link up with people that have like minds all across the planet. We need to be knowing what's going on with one another. We have to do this. Because if we don't, in the end, what's going to happen? We're going to look up one day, and history does always repeat itself. That is a very true statement. And we'll be back in worse situation than we were during slavery. A lot of people get so caught up in modern day comforts, the illusion of freedom. But at the end of the day, ask yourself this question. Even if you're comfortable with things and you're in a situation like our people are, being oppressed, murdered unjustly, mass incarcerated, all the things you have to deal with, particularly from the dominant society and other groups trying to imitate them to curry favor with them. Ask yourself this one question. Don't you want a better future for all the children that you see that have no idea what this thing really means yet? I'm going to close this out and leave you with this. If you're not motivated to change things for yourself, let these three things motivate you to work to replace the system of global white supremacy with a system of justice. Fight for the honored dead, fight for the living, and fight for the unborn. That's Black empowerment.